So I want to welcome you guys to this week's edition of Grow Wealthy Grooming. I am your host. My name is River Lee of the Savvy Groomer. I teach pet groomers, personal finance, and business coaching. So this week I wanted to talk about 5 signs that you're secretly afraid of wealth. I thought this would be kind of a fun topic. So what I thought was really interesting about this, I had gotten a book. It talked about a scenario where she got embarrassed, where she had asked someone very wealthy what they did for a living. And in that circle, it was considered very rude because a lot of people didn't work. They did philanthropy, etc. And it was so interesting to me, the different things of when you ask someone what they do for a living and like little nuances like that. And the reason that really struck me was because when I was at the other 2 conferences, they asked me what I did. And I said, I'm a pet groomer. And you know what they said to me? I love doggies. I love kitties. And they were so unintentionally condescending. That was a very interesting thing. And the more I dug into it, I said to myself, why do I feel like immediately it feels condescending instead of giving them the benefit of the doubt? So I thought it was really interesting in that aspect where I didn't identify as a business owner. I identified as a pet groomer. And the pet groomer part of me was offended, where the business owner of me would have just laughed and thought that was very adorable, that they were trying to connect with me. So I thought it would be a great topic to talk about all the little secrets I've learned that are actually subliminal ways of showing you that you are afraid of wealth or have a negative association towards money. Let me just tell you the first one. The first one is kind of what everyone does, and I didn't realize this until it was pointed out to me. So I'm in a group of women. We're learning essentially executive lessons. So if you wanted to become a corporate executive, a VP, that level in corporate, not that I want to do that, but I want to know how they think and they tick. And one thing that I realized is that when you're in that group of women, and let's say they've got a really nice pair of shoes, like they've got the Red Soles, the Louboutins. So if I were to say to one of those women, I love your shoes, they would react differently than I would say most of the people in my circle. So what I used to do when people said, I love your shoes, is I would immediately begin to justify my purchase. So what do you mean by that, right? So what I would do is I would say, I got it on sale. Even if I didn't, I have to justify that purchase instead of just saying, thank you. Because in this group of women, someone will have a very expensive, purse. I mean, we're like several $1,000s, or a lovely watch, or whatever it is, or a beautiful dress. If someone mentions it, a way to practice being vibrationally in tune with wealth is simply to say thank you. If they want to know where you got it, they'll ask. But just be okay, because what you're feeling in that moment is guilt, embarrassment, like in some way you must be better than this other person, which doesn't make any sense. They're just complimenting what you're wearing. You've associated those feelings with that item. So if you've bought something and you've earned that money, or you were given a beautiful gift, be happy, be grateful, and then go ahead and compliment them. Thank you. I really love your dress. And that is the sign of a secure person who feels comfortable in the purchase they made. And some of you guys might be like, that's a little ridiculous. But when you think about it, why are you justifying your purchase to a complete stranger or even to someone you love? It doesn't make any sense. So go ahead and practice that. If someone says, wow, I love your XYZ, go ahead and say, thank you. And then you can say something like, I love your XYZ, or thank you, and just stop there. Okay, and number 2, it is mentioning that something is outrageously expensive. What's interesting is the more wealthy you become, it doesn't become a disenfranchised of how much money things are. What happens is you realize that the value of things may or may not be evident to you. So for example, art. If you're wealthy, we see something like, it's insane they paid $1 million for that. But the intrinsic value can be totally different than what you view it as. It's completely subjective. Having money and having a lot of it doesn't make you wealthy. Wealthy is a mindset, same as broke is a mindset. So when you start saying things like that is insanely expensive, or that's a ripoff, you are assuming things that you may or may not know. Let me get this right. There'll be people that'll say in our grooming salon, that's way too expensive. And you're like, wait, what do you mean it's too expensive? And we go out there and we try and justify it. But they're generally not our customer, right? The people that we have to justify our service rates to. We can educate them, but justification and education are two very different things. That said, I want you to please stop saying things are outrageously expensive or someone is charging too much money. The truth is that sometimes we don't see the value or we simply don't value those things. I recently got some really beautiful headshots done. They were expensive to me because I'm really sorry to this photographer. They did an amazing job, but to me they're expensive because I don't value them. And that sounds really terrible because they're beautiful and they're well done. The other example I have is I really like diamonds because I'm a girl and I like shiny things. So I will go and buy Tiffany diamonds. And some people, no matter how much money they ever have, will never go to Tiffany's because it is technically overpriced. But to me, it's worth the money to have the brand and know that they're sourced in a way that doesn't hurt people, blood diamonds, blah, blah, blah. Again, your decision on what is valuable is completely up to you. You do not have to. So it's not that they're expensive, it's that I don't understand the value or I'm never going to. Some people are just never going to value. Number 3 is to stop describing wealthy people as greedy or bad people in general. What was really amazing when I was at both the second and the third, so both at Business Boutique and at the Entrepreneur Experience, there is one of my heroes. I got to meet him. It was amazing. His name is Stu McLaren. Like, it's insane. Like, he has so much money. And again, see, limiting beliefs. This man literally raises millions of dollars a year to build schools in Africa. And what it proved to me is that being wealthy isn't about retaining money. It's about giving to others. It's about charity. It's so important to give back. You know, Rockefeller often says, he said if he couldn't have tithed on his first salary, which was like $1, then he wouldn't have been able to tithe, on his first million. And that's so true. There are always going to be bad people. And those bad people may have money or they may have no money. And that's the tough part. You have to figure out, if you were to be wealthy, would you be one of the bad people or one of the good people? And personally, I like to look at the people that have money and have done so much good with that. And I think that the more we gain in the industry, as groomers, the more we can do for other pet industries. We can start owning grooming salons that are run by groomers. Well, great. So let's have groomers become wealthy and own shops and employ people and set the standards. How awesome would that be? So let's get down to number 4. One thing I found is that when you start feeling uncomfortable around people that are either overdressed or you're going to a place that you feel is too fancy, whether it's a restaurant or a hotel, that is a sign that you are uncomfortable with wealth. And the reason why is because we're never uncomfortable in the sense that you might feel bad for somebody who has less, but if you went to stay in a crappy hotel, you might feel uncomfortable because it's dirty and this is annoying, but you're not feeling the same way as you do when you walk into a 5-star hotel. And the difference is because you feel out of place. You feel like you're a weird fixture, like you're peeking into somebody else's world. And that's because you either feel like you don't belong there, like you don't deserve to be there. And these are all weird guilt things that we all deal with. That's just the truth. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I remember I didn't believe this at all. I said, this isn't true at all. And then I went to a mall. Okay, so those of you that are boys and you've never been into a girl's bathroom, normally you walk in, there's just stalls, okay? This place had a room that you could just sit in and do your makeup. They had wall-to-wall mirrors, they had lounges, and then they had a ladies' room. It was enormous and it was opulent and it was almost uncomfortable how amazing it was. And I would go into a store and they're like, this person will be your personal shopper. But the reason I felt uncomfortable is because I didn't feel like either I deserved it or that it just felt weird to be taking that good of care. And it's because, I identify a lot of times with very blue collar. Often a lot of the things that happen with that are limiting financial beliefs. Things like, I have to work hard for my money. That's kind of a toxic belief because what if I just got money? What if I worked really hard for 10 years and I took all of that knowledge and then I made money really easily? Isn't that going to kind of screw with my head? You think it wouldn't, but when money comes too easily and you have a very blue collar mindset, often these people become self-destructive. I know I'm one of those people, but next time, if you want to become wealthy, one thing you can start doing is, if you're a woman, try on a really nice dress. Go ahead and put your feet in these ugly foot coffins like Louboutins and walk around the store and you're like, so this is what $1,000 pair of shoes feels like. And that's okay. Try on $1,000 dress. What does it feel on? Feel how when you put it on, it feels like, oh my God, like this is worth more than my first car. Go ahead and sit in a dealership of a car that is way above your pay grade until you start to feel like it's no big deal. Because once it becomes no big deal, your vibration, your essence is going to be different because you're creating a false narrative that you aren't good enough. You don't feel like you belong. And that's crazy because the universe wants to give to you. You deserve to make money. You do work hard. And even if you don't physically work hard, you have earned your place. You have done enough things to deserve to be here. So you get to enjoy the things you have, but you have to feel comfortable in order to enjoy them. You decide you want to buy something nice for yourself. All right, so let's talk about the last sign that you're secretly afraid of wealth. That is every time your savings account grows to a certain point. Now, you may not know what this point is, but to a certain point, you have an uncontrollable urge to spend it. Or on the flip side, once you start to earn a certain amount of money, all of a sudden you either let off the gas or you find yourself unable to earn even more. And you're like, what is that? So I actually saw that a lot in the entrepreneur experience. And I didn't think I would because these people are making a ton of, I shouldn't say, again, see, limiting beliefs, These people are making easily, without employees, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. A lot of the things they were talking about, they would really bootstrap themselves and they would get really scrappy and they'd get to this point and then they couldn't get any further. Last year they made 200, this year they made 250. Last year they made 250, this year they made 3. And to you guys, that might seem like, wow, that's actually really great. But the exponential wealth of what these people are doing, if you can make 6 figures, you can make 7. These people aren't constrained by service-based businesses. These are either products or these are scalable business models. So they're not held down by the amount of time they have. They're more held down by, honestly, either limiting beliefs or things that they're feeling inside of themselves that isn't allowing them to shine. And that's really hard. I heard way more people than I thought was possible saying, I keep making 6 figures and I want to make 7 and I don't know why I can't. And the more I would listen to them and listen to them being coached, a lot of them said, how do you feel? If I said to you, you're going to make $1 million this year, how does that feel in your heart? And I like that idea. I said, no, not what you think. What do you feel? And this is so true. So you might be asking, okay, now that you've made me feel like crap because I may or may not feel like I'm secretly afraid of wealth, what do I do about that? So I learned this at Tony Robbins and I think it's super effective. So what he would say is that every time you start to say this, go ahead and stop yourself, break the habit. So the format is, I tell myself, people are making more money than I ever will. That's bullshit. The truth is, I can make as much money as I want as long as I'm willing to put the work in. You can create this in a format. So let's go back to, I bought this on sale and I have to tell people I saved this money. I tell myself that buying things that cost is bad. That's bullshit. The truth is that I earned that money and I deserve to enjoy the things that I have. I tell myself photography is outrageously expensive. That's bullshit. The truth is, I'm not in a place in my life where I can appreciate their skill set and their art. I tell myself I don't belong around these people. They're not my people. That's bullshit. The truth is, they're people just like me. They're just in nicer clothes. I tell myself if I have over $10,000 in my bank account, I need to spend it. That's bullshit. The truth is, I need a giant savings fund, right? I need an emergency fund worth about, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses if I'm an employee and 6 months to a year if I'm a business owner. So go ahead and use this format. So think about all these things and all the ways that you may or may not be secretly afraid of wealth, and I want to know, do you have any of these things? Do you find them as a habit? And so I would love to hear, how you guys handle these things, what you're doing to change them. That's the nice thing is that if you don't like something about yourself, you can always change it. And in the grooming industry, we really struggle with money because we get to do something we really love. Like working with animals every day is a joy. People really do love animals, and we get to work with them every day. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here. It's been really awesome to see you guys this week. Again, please go ahead and use the format. I tell myself XYZ. That's bullshit. The truth is 1, 2, 3. All right, guys. So start using that in your everyday life to help yourself break these habits. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out my website, which is savvygroomer.com. There you're going to be able to find access to, my blog and more information. If you are a pet groomer, go ahead and apply to join my Facebook group called Finances for the Grooming Industry. We will be doing a fresh launch of Personal Finance on a Leash, which is my 12-week online course teaching pet groomers personal finance. That will be launching very soon. And we're actually going to be having a little bit of a challenge. So go ahead and look up the Savvy Groomer and give a like to my business page. We'll be posting it there very shortly. All right, guys, happy grooming.